All right, holy siblings, we are back. All right, tonight we've been having some problems with this Facebook, but we are back. All right, let me see if I can actually get everyone on here. Alright, we again apologize, holy siblings, for the delays. This Facebook update seems to be challenging, to say the least. Alright, so blessings and much love, holy siblings. And welcome back. This is take 2 of the 4,000-year spiritual antidote virus and all sicknesses and diseases, part 2. Right, tonight's part 2 of this masterclass is entitled Accurate, or tonight's part 2, which is step 2 on this 3-step spiritual antidote for the coronavirus, as well as other spiritual other sicknesses and diseases, is accurate spiritual perspective. All right, so welcome back, everyone. I have just tried to tag everyone. Unfortunately, Facebook makes it a bit difficult to tag everyone on these lives. All right, so Holy Sister Lori, kindly, if you can, on your side, I've tried to tag everyone, but it's supposed to be tagged, yeah? Everybody should have gotten the notification. Let's see where it goes. I will move on to actually start a watch party with this. Yeah. Let's get rolling. The link. Let's see. I'm not sure what the link is. I'll just copy the URL here. I don't know why this thing, this Facebook, is live with this news that. Alright, so blessings, holy siblings. Welcome back. Is everyone hearing me clearly? I would like to know that everybody's hearing me clearly. Is there any cutting out or anything of that nature? Please indicate within the chat window. Are you hearing me clearly? Is there any cutting out? Should be. All right, welcome everyone. All right, this is take 2, so this is my formal introduction again. Welcome to the 4,000-year with the 4,000-year-old spiritual antidote for the coronavirus and all sicknesses and diseases. All right, skipping around. Blessings and love to you, sister. It's not a bit still. Some skipping sound. Some skipping sound. Still way? What is going on with this? Alright, well, let's go. Let's get rolling. Alright, so this video starts at 6:26 minutes and 30 seconds, so be sure to post that in the comments, in the description. Alright, so blessings and much love, holy siblings. Again, welcome back. I trust that everyone is hearing me clearly and that everything is running smoothly now. This is officially taken part 2 of the 4,000-year-old spiritual antidote for all perspectives. Alright, should I start this presentation, or can we just continue from where we left off in take 1? I just want your feedback. Was everyone able to follow in take 1, or should we just continue with take 2 and start over? Kindly indicate in the chat. Should we start over or go to take 2, or actually just continue from where we left off? Your feedback will be greatly appreciated here. Alright, one says over, next one until we left off. Alright. I started to listen to take 1 and I realized that it was really cutting in and out, the recording. So, for the benefit of those who were not able to continue, alright, so let me see here, boy. Alright, briefly go over what we already covered. Alright, so then we will start over and I briefly go over what we already covered. Alright, so you all had already, I had already shown this screen here with regards to that, so you can refer to take 1 to cover this. Alright, so just so that you know, we will start by spiritual perspective. Alright, so the objectives here. Let's take note that we started at 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Alright, so officially we are resuming take 2, and we start with spiritual perspective. 3, 2, 1, and action. Alright, so the objectives of tonight's session would be to cover what is spiritual perspective. Right? We do speak about spiritual perspective, so we need to identify what it is and ensure that it is not your spiritual, your concept or perspective or your understanding of spiritual perspective is not culturally inclined, societally inclined, or even religious, denominationally inclined. We'll also take a look at what spiritual perspective is necessary to protect yourself, and not only to protect yourself, but to free others from the coronavirus, as well as all sicknesses and diseases. We'll also take a look at the scriptures regarding this in context. We will take a look at the scriptures in context and what we will do for the benefit of all who will be listening to this right now, as well as the recording. We will interpret it in modern day English so that everyone is explicitly clear. All right, and if we have sufficient time tonight, we will look at how to apply this from your heart. where the Holy Spirit has been given to you, as is mentioned in Romans 5:5, as well as 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 22. Right? At the end of this session, you will understand what mental perspective is necessary to both protect yourself as well as sick. Right? It is a perspective. It is a perspective. Right? And how to mechanically apply it. We'll also, again, if we have time, we'll take a look at how to intentionally transition from the perspective, the perspective or the knowledge of what we're covering here tonight from mere mental assent or just mental recognition to applying it from your heart. Right? So what is spiritual perspective? Right? It must be understood. It must be clearly understood that spiritual perspective does not refer to non-physical. Right? It must be understood that the word spiritual, we in the Western world have been taught that spiritual is the opposite of physical, or physical is an antonym for spiritual. The Bible does not share this does not share this perspective. Right? As a matter of fact, as I mentioned in take 1, the Bible does not make a differentiation between physical and spiritual. Right? So in the scriptures, just for the benefit of the information that we'll be covering here tonight, spiritual in the scriptures is not the opposite of physical. The opposite of spirit in the New Testament is actually flesh. Right? And when we say flesh, we are not referring to the physical body. The context of the word flesh in the New Testament is man's nature or mindset without the Holy Spirit. In other words, any perspective that is outside of the perspective of the Spirit of God, word is actually considered flesh. So according to Scripture, the opposite of spirit is flesh. Right? This is actually clearly seen with regards to, as I mentioned in take 1, this is actually clearly seen with regards to the mention of witchcraft as a work of the flesh. In the Western perspective, and we here in the Western world, we identify someone who is a witch, a warlock, a Satanist, a voodoo practitioner as somebody who is spiritual. Right? That is strictly a Western perspective of spirit and spiritual. Yeah? So, in the Bible, witchcraft is actually referred to as the works of the flesh. That is because in Scripture, physical is not the opposite of spiritual. Physical and spiritual are one and the same, according to the perspective of your Scriptures. The opposite of spirit in the Bible is flesh, and flesh is mind outside of the mindset of the Holy Spirit. So the word spiritual refers to the Holy Spirit and is related to mindsets, to the mindset with the Holy Spirit, or in other words, the mindset of the Spirit. Right? This is actually clearly seen in Romans chapter 8, verse 6, where we see down the mind of the flesh is death, both now and forever, because it pursues sin. But the mind of the Spirit is life and peace. And in square brackets of the Amplified, it actually says the spiritual well-being that comes from walking with God both now and forever. So we see that spirit and spiritual are one and the same. So it's very, very, very important that you understand, and I must emphasize, heavily emphasize, that the scriptural perspective of spiritual is the Holy Spirit. Any perspective outside of the Holy Spirit is actually referred to as flesh. You can also see this in chapter 8, verse 12 to 14, that says it outrightly. Now, so then, brothers and sisters, we have an obligation, but not to our flesh, our human nature, our worldliness, our sinful capacity, to live according to the impulses of the flesh. In square brackets, the Amplified Bible includes our nature without the Holy Spirit, or our mindset without the Holy Spirit. For if you are living according to the impulses of the flesh, you are going to die. But if you are living by the power of the Holy Spirit, you are habitually putting to death the sinful deeds of the body. You will really live forever. It also want to say, for all who are allowing themselves to be led by the Spirit are sons of God. Right? Now, what is spiritual perspective? What is perspective? So according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, perspective is defined as mental view, point of view, as well as the angle or direction in which a person looks at an object. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, some synonyms of perspective would be vantage point or viewpoint. And according to the same dictionary, words related to the word perspective would be the same words that you are very accustomed to, in your Christian life. Words like belief, conviction, I, feeling, judgment, mind. There's that word again. Or mindset. Yeah, that's a synonym for perspective. Mind, mindset, notion, opinion, perception, persuasion, sentiment, verdict, and view. Right, so here we see that perspective and mind and mindset are actually one and the same. So let's now take it back to Romans chapter 8 verse 6. That says, for those who are living according to the flesh set their minds on the things of the flesh, which gratify the body. But those who are living according to the Spirit set their minds on the things of the Spirit, for His will and purpose. Now the mind of the flesh is death, both now and forever, because it pursues sin. But the mind of the Spirit is life and peace, the spiritual well-being that comes from walking with God, both now and forever. If we take this same verse, take into consideration that mind and mindset are very much related to perspective, or synonyms to perspective, interchanging mind with perspective, the same verse will read, for those who are living according to the flesh set their perspectives on the things of the flesh, which gratify the body. But those who are living according to the Spirit set their perspectives on the things of the Spirit, His will and purpose. Is this making sense now? It goes on to say, now the perspective of the flesh is death. So we see that flesh here is not physical. It is a perspective. It is a mindset. Both now and forever, because it pursues sin, but the perspective of the Spirit. So here we see that even walking in the Spirit is a perspective. Is life and peace, the spiritual well-being that comes from walking with God, both now and forever. So again, flesh, the opposite of spirit. Contrary to your Western understanding, the opposite of spirit is not in your scriptures. Spirit is flesh, and those two are perspectives, mindsets. Is that making sense to everyone? Right? If you're following that, type perspective. Perspective. Now, it's very important that you understand that if that the perspective of the Spirit that is mentioned in Romans chapter 8 is the Word of God. Again, the perspective of the Spirit is the Word of God. Very important. Right? To walk in the Spirit is to walk from the perspective of the Word of God, seeing life circumstances, which is what I actually was mentioning in take 1. That when we come to Christ, we understand that when we come to Christ, we begin by first meeting our covenantal requirement, and our one and only covenantal requirement is to personally identify yourself with Christ Jesus. Changing, you have actually received a spiritual name change. You have now become and been created into Christ Jesus. He is now you. But walking in the identity of Christ Jesus, personally identifying yourself with Christ Jesus is not limited to just psychological identification with who he is or with his name. Just psychological identification with him. The second thing that you're required to do once you come into that covenant, identifying yourself with Christ, is renewing your mind. And that simply is, what is mind renewal? Mind renewal in this case is learning to see life from the perspective of the person that you are identifying yourself with. Therefore, mind renewal is simply learning and reprogramming your mind or resetting your mind to see the universe, all creation, people, life, through the lens and through the perspective of the Holy Spirit, Father, and Christ Jesus. Right? Again, I just want to make that clear. Mind renewal is simply resetting your mind to see the universe, all of creation, everything that you are living with, people, your profession, your family, your friends, everything through the perspective or the point of view of the Holy Spirit and Christ Jesus. How exactly does this work? Right? The answer, in fact, what I actually forgot to mention here was even walking with regards to, even in the context of this masterclass, the context of addressing and conquering and protecting yourself from viruses such as the coronavirus, this requires perspective. Right? Now, having actually interchanged this verse here, interchange this with perspective. I just want to read it. I'm reading it one more time. For those who are living according to the flesh, set their perspectives on the things of the flesh. But for those who are living according to the Spirit, set their perspective on the things of the Spirit, His will and purpose. Now the perspective of the flesh is death, both now and forever, because it pursues sin. But the perspective of the Spirit is life and peace, the spiritual well-being that comes from walking with God, both now and forever. This holy sibling simply identifies that if sickness and death are one, and life and health are also one, then protecting yourself and your loved ones from viruses such as the coronavirus or any sickness and disease or anything going on with you in the context of health is as a result of perspective. And to actually free someone from sickness and death like the disciples and the apostles did, and even Christ Jesus demonstrated, it requires perspective. Accurate perspective. All right? How we can actually go to Psalm 91. Now, the first thing that we would actually that is very important that you actually understand with regards to the Psalms is that Psalm 91, as many other Psalms in your Bible, is strategically written. Right? Strategically written, actually providing you with hidden keys. Now, I'm not too sure if most of you are familiar with this, but your Psalms are actually written with hidden keys. It is strategically written like that. Unfortunately, it is not understood like this in the Western world, but those who from the culture and the rabbinical culture that this actually belongs to, they understand that the Psalms are actually written giving you keys. In Psalm 91 in particular, the first two verses of the Psalm provides the reader with the hidden key which unlocks the realities of the succeeding 14 verses. I want to say that again. The first 2 verses of the psalm in particular, and many psalms are written like that. The first verse, or the first 2 verses, or just the first couple verses, are a very important key of perspective, which unlocks the door of the realities of the rest of the verses of the psalm. Is everybody following that? If you're following that, type hidden key. Just want to make sure everybody is following. Yeah, we want to make sure everybody is following. So if you're following this, type hidden. All right. So we have responding. Hidden key. All right. Lovely. Lovely. So let's just write to read Psalm 91 in particular. It's actually one of many psalms that is actually strategically written. The first 2 verses of this psalm in particular, as many other psalms, provide the reader with the hidden key, which unlocks the realities of the succeeding 14 verses. What does the key unlock? In the context of this masterclass, this psalm, the hidden key actually unlocks protection from pestilences and plagues. I say again, this hidden key actually provides protection from pestilences and plagues. So let's take a look at that. In verse 3 of the psalm, it says, God will save you from the deadly pestilence. So the hidden key is designed to unlock God saving you from the deadly pestilence. Verse 6, a reality that will also be unlocked by using this hidden key is you will not be afraid of the pestilence that stalks in darkness. Verse 10 also highlights another reality of that you can unlock by using this hidden key. No evil will befall you, nor will any plague come near your tent. And when we say the word tent here, the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 15 identifies tent as body. So you can interchange that and says, no evil will befall you, nor will any plague come near your body. And verse 16, actually also, which is the end of the psalm, it says another reality that the hidden key will and can unlock. With a long life will God satisfy and let you see his salvation. For those of you who do not know, the word salvation in Hebrew is a translation of the Hebrew word Yeshua. In other words, that would read, with a long life will he satisfy you and let you see his Yeshua. In other words, what I'm saying here is that this psalm is one of the psalms that gives you a hidden key to unlock the length on never-ending life in your identity as Yeshua, as well as protection from pestilences, diseases, plagues. This is making sense. Right? So what is the hidden key? The first 2 verses of this psalm actually reads, he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will remain secure and rest in the shadow of the Almighty, whose power no enemy can withstand. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust with great confidence and on whom I depend or I rely. Now, many of us have actually read this psalm probably 100 times in your Christian life. It is a very popular psalm, but unfortunately, because of our Western perspective, we read this psalm and we do not understand really what these two verses are actually communicating to us. So, for the first time, members of the Elohim Clinic would actually understand what I'm actually saying and understand the proper context of the psalm. Have divulged into that and expounded on it. And members of the Elohim Clinic are already using the key that we are about to unlock here. So what we are actually going to do, for the benefit of everyone, especially the other members of the private members club, as well as the visiting members, the 7-day visiting members of the private members club, what we are actually going to do with this verse, with these two verses, is look at it. It has been written, "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will remain secure and rest in the shadow of the Almighty, whose power no enemy can withstand. I will serve the self of the Lord. He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust with great confidence, and whom I depend, and on whom I depend." What we are going to do in this psalm, from this point, is translate this verse into terms and a version that our modern day Western English would help us understand. So, in translation into modern day Western English, you're going to be able to understand this through the lens of the author of the psalm. Everybody ready? Right in front of you is the key. The question is, what are these two verses really saying? Is everybody ready? If you're ready, type ready. I want everybody typing ready. Yep. All right, Blanc says yep. Everybody else ready? Now, once you understand these two verses here, whilst everybody is typing, once you understand these two verses, then we would actually read, and it would actually bring what Jesus was saying, what Jesus was communicating, into full comprehension and why he was communicating it. And you would see that he was only speaking this psalm, scripture. So let's go. Of this in the Amplified Bible is, verse 1 is, "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will remain secure and rest in the shadow of the Almighty, whose power no enemy can withstand." Some other versions such as the King James Version reads, "He dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." Now, it is unfortunate, very unfortunate, that many religious denominations have actually read "He that dwells in the secret place," he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High, and you notice secret place is highlighted. And because of the lack of awareness that they may be reading the Bible through a very Western perspective, they have read secret place and given and actually taken the liberty to attribute various contexts of the secret place to this verse. And some persons have actually stepped into very weird practices of trying to understand or through communicating the secret place. Now, it's very important that you always keep in mind that the scripture always interprets the scripture. Right? So what you do really need to do is to find in Scripture what is context of the terminology that the Scripture is using. So it says, "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will remain secure and rest in the shadow of the Almighty, whose power no enemy can withstand. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust with great confidence, and on whom I rely." What is the secret place? The answer of what the secret place is found in Psalm 31 verse 20. Psalm 31 verse 20 says, "In the secret place of your presence, you hide them from the plots and conspiracies of man. You keep them secretly in a shelter from the strife of tongues." Here we see in this verse of Psalm 31 verse 20 that the secret place of the Most High is the presence of the Most High. So the secret place is the presence of God. If you're following that, type presence of God. Secret place is the presence of God. Yeah, is everybody following that? If you're following, type presence of God. If you've been looking and trying to understand what is the secret place of the Most High, it is not your closet. It is not in the mountains. It is not in a room. Right? All of those perspectives, the secret place of the Most High is the presence of the Most High. The presence of God. Is there. Right? Presence of next now seeing the responses. Good. Right? Now, do you know? Let's take it further. Do you know that the presence of God is also in Scripture the name of God? Do you know that the presence of God? Here are 3 verses out of many in the Bible that actually shows that the presence of God is paralleled to the name of God. For those of you who may not be aware, I'm just going to throw this out also. For those of you who may not be aware, members of the Elohim Clinic in particular, this would have been made very clear to you. So the members of the Elohim Clinic of the Private Members Club, this is old news to you. But for those of you who are actually hearing me for the first time and sitting through a session like this with me for the first time, it's very important that you do understand that in scriptures, in scriptures, very frequently in scriptures, the word "and" is not used in the same capacity that we use "and" in the Western world, in our Western English. We use "and" in our Western English as an aggregate, meaning you use "and" to add to a list of items that you may be referring to. So a cup and spoon, that's 2 things that you've just connected in a total: cup and spoon. So it's used as an aggregate to add to a list. In the Bible, the word "and" is very commonly used not as a couplet. A couplet is where someone actually says 2 things a couplet is actually where someone communicates one idea in 2 different ways. In the Bible, the word "and" I mean, I can't go into the literary tools of the scriptures too much in this session, but the word "and" in the Bible is not used as an adjective, actually used in capacity of a couplet, meaning that where the word "and" is used, it is used as a link to indicate that what is actually stated before it and after it are parallels. So if you actually do a search for name and presence on any search engine of your Bible, you will notice that my name and my presence, name and presence are parallels. Is everybody hearing me? I'm noticing that Bland is saying that she's not hearing. Is everybody hearing me? Name and presence are parallels. So when we say the presence of God, we are also saying the name of God. When we say the name of God, we are also saying the presence of God. It is actually one and the same. Just give me an indication that you're hearing, please. Okay, Bland. Right, so presence and name are one and the same. They are actually couplets in your Bible. So let's just take a look at a few examples. So Deuteronomy chapter 21 verse 5 says, "Then the priests, the sons of Levi, shall approach for them to serve him and to bless in the presence, in the name, in the dark places." In the Bible, it actually places in it places its presence. Right? This is actually found in your Amplified Bible. It says, "The priest, the Lord your God has chosen them to serve him and to bless in the name, presence of the Lord, and every dispute and every assault, violent crime shall be settled by them." Right? 2 Samuel chapter 7 verse 13. 2 Samuel 7:13. Okay, like a CD skipping. Alright, just let me see if I can make a slight adjustment here. Alright, is everybody hearing me clearly there now? Is everybody hearing me clearly now? If you're hearing me clearly, please indicate. Are you hearing me clearly now? Please indicate. Are you hearing? Are you hearing? I can hear you. All right. Yes, hearing. Lovely. Right. So here we have 3 verses that actually demonstrates that my name. Deuteronomy chapter 21 verse 5 says, "And the priests, the sons of Levi, shall approach, for the Lord God has chosen them to serve him and bless in the name." God. And it's called by 2 Samuel chapter 7 verse 13. "It was for my name and my I will establish his throne of his kingdom forever." 1 Kings chapter 5 verse 5 says, "Behold, First Kings chapter 5 verse 5 says, "Behold, I intend to build a house, temple to the name of the Lord my God, just as the Lord said to my father David, your son, whom I will put on your throne in your place, shall build a house for my name and presence." Again, couplet. Name and presence are one and the same. Right? Okay. So it's not really my sound system here. It's the buffering on Facebook. Unfortunately, that one is out of my hands. Right? So my name and presence are one and the same. Now, another point to note is that God's name, when the reference to God's name in the Bible, we just show that the secret place is the presence of God. The presence of God is also the name of God. And God's name is a reference to his identity. I said again, God's name is a scriptural reference to his identity. We can see this in Exodus chapter 21 verse 6. That says, "Then his master shall bring him to God." In square brackets of the Amplified Bible, it says, "That is, to the judges who act in God's name." Here we see that the judges of Israel, in the time of the judges, acting in God's name meant taking on the identity of God. So the judges acting and speaking in God's name was recognized in all of Israel as God speaking and acting. I want to say that again. Acting or speaking in God's name, the person acting in God's name was actually taking on the identity of God. We can also see this in John chapter 2 verse 23 in the New Testament, where it says, "Now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover feast, many believed in his name." And in square brackets, again, the Amplified Bible says, "identifying themselves with him." Right? In the session yesterday, we actually showed that believing God, believing in the name of Christ Jesus, or believing in Christ Jesus, believing in the name of Christ Jesus is actually scripturally the context of believing. And Israel's context of believing in the name of Christ Jesus was taking on his identity as their personal identity. Here we see that in the scriptures, this is actually just two out of many references in the Bible that shows that taking on the identity of God is actually functioning in his name. So God's name is his identity. Right? Therefore, we see that secret place, as we saw in Psalms, is the presence of God. And the presence of God is parallel in Scripture as the name of God. And the name of God is the identity of God. Is this making sense? Is this making sense, everyone? Secret place is the same as the presence of God. The secret place of the Most High is equal to the presence of the Most High. The presence of the Most High or the presence of God is equal to the name of God. And it's equal to the of God. Yeah? Great. So therefore, if presence, secret place is equals to presence, and presence is equal to name, and name is equal to identity, then Psalm 91 verse 1 can be read, "He who dwells or lives in the identity of the Most High will remain secure and rest in the shadow of the Almighty, whose power." Is that now ringing a bell? How many of us have been in this psalm for years? and not really understanding that dwelling in the secret place of the Most High is dwelling in the name of the Most High or in the identity of the Most High. It is no wonder that your covenantal requirement in a new covenant is personal identification with Christ Jesus, who has been made Most High by Father. Right? Another word that we see in that verse is Most High. So what does the Most High mean? Most High is actually the translation of the Hebrew word or the Hebrew term or Hebrew name El Elyon, which is translated the Supreme. Right? So if we interchange Most High with the Supreme, then the verse will continue to read, He who dwells in the perspective or the identity of the Supreme, because identity is perspective. It is a perspective. He who dwells in the perspective of the Supreme will remain secure and rest in the shadow of the Almighty, whose power no enemy can withstand. Making sense? Also in that verse we see the word Almighty. Will remain secure and rest in the shadow or in the power of the Almighty. The word Almighty is the translation of the Hebrew name El Shaddai, that means the all-sufficient one, the one who gives life, the one who pours out blessings, the one who nurtures. So if El Shaddai is the all-sufficient one, we can also interchange Almighty or El Shaddai with the all-sufficient one. And the verse can then be read, He who dwells in the perspective of the Supreme will remain secure and rest in the power of the all-sufficient one, whose power no virus can withstand. Is this making sense to everyone? Is everybody following this? He who dwells in the perspective of the Supreme will remain secure and rest in the power of the all-sufficient one. Is this coming into context for you guys? And just let's look at what supreme means. Supreme in this context means the highest rank or authority. Yeah? Supreme in this context means in authority. It's a mental note with authority or means high rank or this in authority. And the all-sufficient one means the one El Shaddai, which is the all-sufficient one, the one who nurtures and the one who pours out blessings. Right? Let's now interchange that in the verse. And it will read, He who adopts. So let's change the word dwelling and put the word adopts, meaning that you begin to reside in that. He who adopts the perspective of the highest authority will remain secure and rest in the power of the one who gives life, whose power no enemy can withstand. Let's read that again. This is the key. Look at the key. The hidden key. He who adopts the perspective of the highest authority will remain secure and rest in the power of the one who gives life, whose power the rest no enemy can withstand. Does this make sense? Let's read one more time. He who adopts the perspective of the highest authority, which means your perspective needs to change. If you are actually looking at the coronavirus or any sickness or disease as something that can affect you, then you are not authority. You are living from the perspective of a victim. You are living from the perspective of the fact. Hold on. Let's put that into perspective. If you are living from the perspective of the highest authority with regards to the coronavirus, sicknesses and diseases, infirmities, if you fear that they can affect you, then you are living from the perspective that the coronavirus is your authority, has authority over you. If you're living from the perspective that sicknesses and diseases can affect you, then you're living from the perspective that sicknesses and diseases has authority over you. In other words, what this hidden key of the psalm is revealed is that to have the verse 3, verse 6, verse 10, and verse 16, the hidden key to open the door of the realities of the rest of the psalm is that you in Christ Jesus must adopt the perspective higher in creation. And once doing that, you will remain secure and rest in the power of the all-sufficient one, the one who gives life, whose power no virus, no infirmity can stand. I hope this is making sense. So let's take a look at verse 2 of the hidden key. It says, I will say of the Lord, and notice the Lord is highlighted because the word Lord, capital L, capital O-R-D in your Bibles, is a translation of the Hebrew word Yahweh. Yahweh, which actually means, is a Hebrew word that translates the second. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge. He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust with great confidence and on whom I depend. So if we interchange the word Lord with the self-existent, then it should read, I will say of the self-existent, He is my refuge. Now the self-existent here is the same Most High authority. I will say of the self-existent, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust with great confidence and on whom I depend. Now the reason why the Most High, or the person with the highest authority, is also identified as the self-existent, it's simply because you cannot govern or have authority over something that you do not identify or acknowledge yourself independent. Let me say that again. You cannot, in our fashion, govern or have authority you cannot in any form of fashion govern or have authority over something that you do not identify or acknowledge that you are independent of. It's the reason why God is referred to as Yahweh, the self-existent, independent of all creation. And because He's independent of all creation, He is not looking towards any creation for validation. That again, the reason why God is identified as self-existent in Scripture is because He is independent of all creation. And because He's independent of all creation, He is not dependent on creation to validate His existence. So, because He's one of the keys to power over sicknesses, diseases, infirmities, demonic forces, raising the dead, casting out devils, healing the sick, cleansing the leper. It's that you must see that from God's perspective, which means you must see it from the perspective of the self-existent. The only way to the key that is actually being provided here in this psalm and in all scripture, the only way for you to have authority over anything, you must see yourself as independent of what you are having authority over. If what you attempt to authority over is validating you in any form or fashion, you will not have authority over it. It will have authority over you. Land says, I heard the Spirit say, let my kingdom government be established in your mind. Exactly. Right? It is perspective. Right? So what does the self-existent mean? According to the Webster Dictionary, existent means existing of self, or itself independently of any other being or cause, not caused to exist by someone or something else. Many of us actually have problems, and many saints, many of them are actually seeking healing for themselves, and one of the problems that they're actually seeking healing, one of the problems or one of the hindrances, one of the main hindrances, I should say, of power over sicknesses, diseases, infirmities, and even power over the coronavirus, that the body of Christ has not gotten to the point of seeing themselves independent, self-existent, independent of all creation, and independent of what they may be experiencing. They see it as it relates to them. And so what is happening is that because they see it as they don't see themselves independent of it, what ends up taking place is that they actually become dependent on it, or the removal of the sickness, to validate themselves. And because of that, they are not drawing energy from God. They're drawing energy. They're drawing energy from things that are not of God. You're going to replace the wind with rain. Yes. Yes, sir. Let me reign over your mind. What is it? Exist for itself independently, any offers. Not always exist by someone else. So now let's read Psalm 91 verses 1 and 2. In modern English, translating this into modern English. He who adopts the perspective of the highest authority will remain and rest in the power of the one who is life, power no enemy can withstand. Self-existent. He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust with great confidence and on whom I depend. Right? My God. You can also say God as that which has supreme value. Right? My supreme value. My supreme value, in whom I trust with great confidence, on whom I depend. So the perspective or the identity of God, of Christ Jesus, must be of supreme value. It must be, it is you walking in God. So now let's turn our attention to verse 9 and 10, which further explains the key. Now many people actually quote, and many Christians have a tendency to quote, no evil will befall me, nor will any plague come near my tent, my body. But it is actually taken out of the psalm, and they pay no attention to the verse that comes before it, that gives you the hidden key to open the door of the reality of no evil befalling you, nor any plague coming near your tent. So interchanging the word Lord with Yahweh, the self-existent, interchanging the Most High with the highest authority, this should read, because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your identity, your perspective, no evil will befall you, nor will any plague come near your tent. If we interchange the meanings in that verse, then it would read, pay attention, because you have made the self-existent, who is my refuge, even the highest authority, your perspective, your identity, no evil will befall you, nor will any plague come near your body. Is everybody seeing that? Let's read it one more time. Because you have made it self-existent, who is my refuge? Or who is your refuge? Meaning your safe place. The self-existent meaning you have made it self-existent, who is your refuge? Even the Most High, even the highest authority. So in this verse, what you see here, you must be self-existent. And to be the self-existent is actually placing yourself in the highest authority. Is this making sense? This has always been in your Psalms. Just you've been reading it from the Western perspective. And interpreting it like this, I hope this brings it into clarity. So what is the accurate perspective? Step 2. To fully functioning. Step 2 of your spiritual antidote against the coronavirus or any sickness, disease, or infirmity. Because you have make the self-existent perspective. Who is your secret, your refuge, your shelter? Even the highest authority, your identity, or your personal perspective. And no evil will befall you, nor will any plague come near your tent. So what are the hidden keys? Adopt the perspective of the highest authority. Adopt the perspective of the self-existent. Begin to see yourself independent of the coronavirus. And in your self-existence, you have the highest authority. You have highest authority. Identifying yourself with Christ Jesus requires that you adopt the perspective of the self-existent. This is seen in John chapter 5 verse 26. It says, for just as the Father has life in himself and is self-existent, even so he has given to the Son to have life in himself and be self-existent. Therefore, renewing your mind in the identity of Christ means that you are renewing your mind into being self-existent, independent of all creation, existing in the Spirit without any other factor influencing your existence. Is this making sense? Step 2. Step 1 is understand your contract. Your contract has a covenantal responsibility to identify yourself with Christ Jesus. Step 2, renew your mind. To the accurate perspective is adopt the perspective of the highest authority. And you will have power over all sickness, disease, infirmities. This is what Jesus was referring to when he said this. Listen carefully. I have given you authority that you now possess to tread on serpents and scorpions, and the ability to exercise authority, exercise authority over all the power of the enemy, Satan, and nothing will in any way harm you. Jesus is simply quoting. He even actually quotes tread upon serpents and scorpions. Psalm 91 says that you will tread upon the lion and the serpent. Jesus did not make it up. He is merely quoting scripture. Listen carefully. I have given you authority that you now possess to tread on serpents and scorpions, and the ability to exercise authority over all the power of the enemy, power of Satan, and nothing will in any way harm you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice at this, that they subject you, but rejoice that your names are recorded in heaven. Notice that it says your names are recorded in heaven. Heaven is where God reigns. In other words, you see things from the height on. This is your perspective. Is this making sense? Oneness, yes. Yeah? Yes, I'm bland. Oneness. Oneness. You must see it from his perspective. You must adopt the perspective of the highest authority. And don't take my word for this. Find someone tonight who may need you to pray over them. And adjust your mindset to be the highest, to be self-existent, to be independent of that sickness, independent of the situation, and look at it from the perspective of the highest authority and give it instructions. And I can see it being effected. Jesus says, I have given you authority. The same authority that the same hidden key that Psalm 91 says, he that adopts the perspective of the highest authority will remain secure and rest in the power of the all-sufficient one. Meaning, you do not require anything outside of yourself, because the Spirit is all that you need. Matthew 10 chapter 1, Jesus summoned his 12 disciples and said, and gave them, Jesus summoned his 12 disciples and gave them authority and power over unclean spirits. You cannot have power over unclean spirits. You cannot cast them out. Every kind of sickness without the perspective of authority. Jesus really referring the hidden key of the Psalms. Yeah, he said, I am in heaven as I am on earth. Exactly. It's one and the same. Heaven, earth. It's the reign of God on earth. So Jesus summoned his 12 disciples and gave them authority and power over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal every kind of disease and every kind of sickness. This is Jesus reflecting the important key to open the realities of Psalm 91. Matthew 16:19. I will give you the keys, which is in reference to the authority of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind, forbid, declare to be improper and unlawful on earth will have already been bound in heaven. And whatever you loose, permit, declare lawful on earth will have already been loosed in heaven. Therefore, again, you cannot have to actually have. Step 2 is accurate perspective, and the perspective that you must have is being self-existent and the dependent of all creation, of the sickness and disease and the infirmity, which means you cannot, which means to be independent, to be self-existent in the presence of sicknesses and diseases. What you notice that Jesus demonstrated self-existence in the presence of sicknesses and diseases, which means that you, the self-existent perspective, acknowledges that you are you are independent of the sickness, and if you are independent of the sickness, then you are exclusive to God. The sickness cannot touch you because you are independent of it. It is a very, very, very different perspective. It's a perspective that we understand here in the in the Zinkikitura International Institute of Pneumatology. It is actually a very, very important mechanic of walking in the Spirit, identifying that you are independent of all sickness and disease. And if you are independent of it, your substance does not resemble its substance. And stand next to sickness, much like water and oil, and it can never touch you because the oil is independent of the water and the water is independent of the oil. So if you understand that you are self-existent, it is important that you adopt that perspective and understand it. And from that perspective, you can function as the highest authority because you are independent of the creation. Is this making sense? It is the perspective that Jesus taught. It is the perspective that Jesus used, and all of the disciples were taught this by Jesus. So to be self-existent in your approach to the coronavirus, sicknesses or diseases, is to mentally approach it as being independent of it. Which means it does not, your substance and that substance are not the same. And to approach as the highest authority is to mentally approach acknowledging that you, in your identity in Christ, has the power to influence or command it. You can and strength. You can give it instructions, all because you are independent of it. Is this making sense? Do we have any questions? That there brings us to the end of step 2. The end of step 2. Do we have any questions? Please feel free to ask the questions. We will respond to your questions and give you clarity. Any questions? Any questions? Perspective. The perspective of the Spirit or the perspective of the flesh? Are you living from God's perspective? Or are you living from the perspective of something else? If you are self-existent of all creation, then you are independent of all creation. The only way for you to have authority over creation, you must actually, that you cannot have authority over something that you are dependent on. You cannot have authority over something that you do not identify as below you, as of a substance that is below your essence. Any questions at all? Please will address them immediately. Yes, take the same approach if you're ready to stick with something. In other words, this is also what I've done, and I've seen results very consistently. I identify what I'm experiencing. It's part of me. I identify it. I know myself. I speak it as dependent of me. I hope that answers your question, Vince. Let's see. Hold on, my screen here is sticking a bit. Alright, he said we are a threat, but he said we must only want nothing but to carry his glory. Do you understand what that means, Holy Sister? The dots are coming together for me, the pieces are coming together. Okay. Right? When he says that you must only carry his glory, scripturally and spiritually, what that means is that you must make a decision to accept that if you're living in the name of Christ Yeshua, that you are the embodiment of God, and the identity that you have been living by even before you identified yourself with Christ is non-existent. It's very simple. It's as simple as that. You must identify, and if you didn't see, I think you came into, if you didn't see the session last night, I would recommend that you go take a look at that session, the live on part 1 of this masterclass, where we spoke about understanding your covenant or understanding your relationship. And when you come into Christ, the new covenant requires that you identify yourself with Christ. When we say identify yourself with Christ, you take on his identity as your personal identity. Your name has been changed from Bland Markisha to Christ Yeshua. In the spiritual realm, Father acknowledges you as Christ Yeshua, his Holy Spirit. And Bland is just that reveals himself as. Bland means if Bland Markisha means, for example, God is a warrior, then God is revealing himself to the earth as a warrior through you. Your spiritual name has been changed to Christ Yeshua, and your name is simply a revelation of how Christ Yeshua reveals himself on the earth. Does this make sense? Oneness. That oneness is objective. All of Scripture indicates that once you have come into Christ, Christ has become you. And the only person that thinks that there's some form of separation will be you. And so to carry God's glory is simply to be God's glory. And it is simply you embracing that you are perfect and that your existence in Christ. You cannot sin. What you are learning to do is to walk intelligently in the kingdom. That's why Paul says, all things are lawful, but not all things are beneficial. What he's speaking about is wisdom. All things are lawful, Is wise, spiritually beneficial. It's just making choices. Right? This is exactly what all members of all master mentors here within the private members club, they have embraced. Some of them are still growing in it, but it is general consensus amongst the master mentors, and every one of them see and walk in the power of God. By simply acknowledging that they are the embodiment of God. As a son of God, you are a priest. So, you are a son. You are son of God. Cannot see him. And if you go back to the Old Testament, once the priest was in office, he did not have and did not function by his personal identity. Everybody in Israel referred to the priest as Yahweh. They approached the priest and addressed him as God. They wanted to know what was God's will. They said, let's go before God. They could not go before the Holy of Holies. Going before God was going before the priest. And Christ Jesus made a royal priest. As a priest, you do not have a personal identity anymore. You are now Yahweh, now you, and you are now Yahweh. Christ Yeshua, who is Yahweh in the flesh, is now you. I hope that actually gives you some clarity, dear Holy Sister. All right. Do we have any other questions? So just to recap, the first step 1 is personal identification. Step is accurate perspective. That is perspective of the highest authority, independent of all creation. And tomorrow we will go into step 3. As a matter of fact, we can actually go into step 3 now. Right, so tomorrow we can actually have our Holy Brother Paul come in. And step 3, which is very, very everyone to understand that to walk from your heart is very simple. We in the Western world have been taught to actually live by data, by intellect. And so we go to school and we learn information and we memorize the information. We go to work, we memorize information. The word heart in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, is actually the translation of the Greek word cardia. K-A-R-D-I-A. Cardia. This is step 3. Step 3, I don't need to actually put this down on any presentation. It's a very practical step. The Greek word that is translated heart is the Greek word cardia. And that Greek word cardia is translated as thoughts and feelings. That Greek word cardia is translated thoughts and feelings. It's very important that everyone listening to this understand that to walk in Christ means that your thoughts and feelings go hand in hand. For those of you who prophesy, you would have noticed this, that when you begin to prophesy, you always have a sensing and a feeling that comes with the thought, and a thought that comes with a feeling. Because you're prophesying from your heart. And in your heart, thoughts and feelings are one energy. Unfortunately, by data. And so we have been taught that feelings should live by data information. It is a separation that the Bible does not share. The scriptures do not share the separation. So the question is, how do you transition from mental assent or just your knowledge of what the Bible says into walking it from your heart? It's very simple. What you know, to transition it to actually start the step of walking it from your heart is simply, very simply, this requires that the information that you have, begin to feel it, sense it in you. Sense it. Step one is identify yourself with Christ Yeshua. Personally identify yourself with Christ Yeshua. You have the information. Now sense the presence of Christ Yeshua in that body of yours. Sense it. Step two is that you take the perspective of the self-existent, independent of all creation, and that you are the highest authority. Transition from just knowledge to walking it from your heart. Sense the authority in you. Sense it. Sense the authority over all creation. Sense your independence of all creation. The moment you begin doing that is the moment that you begin to function from your heart. Thought and feeling, one and the same. So this is what I challenge every one of you now to do as we come to the end of this masterclass officially. You've been given step one, you've been given step two. Everyone listening to this, I challenge you to take this and start sensing it. Look for someone who needs healing. Sense your identity. Sense your authority and your self-existence. And speak. And see the coronavirus wither from that person. Sicknesses and diseases leave that person. Speak from your heart. Is this making sense? I guarantee you 100% that your results will show. All right, so that brings us to the end of our session officially. The session has been a blessing to you. I ask that you go directly to this link that I'm going to put and give us a review on on our Facebook page, so that assists us with the Facebook algorithms. Please do not forget. You can go as soon as we have ended this session. Right, we will actually they have actually changed the layout of this Facebook. It is just very different. Oh gosh, but the reviews, okay, I just found the reviews. So if this session has been a blessing to you, we kindly ask that you click this link. I'm just posting it here. Click and please give us a review, right, on that link. If it has been a blessing to you and you feel moved by the Spirit to donate to what we are doing and to be a financial blessing to us, this is the story. Just kindly post a link there so that persons can actually direct their contributions to that. Kindly, Holy Sister Lori, just post a link there, the link for the donations, for the nations to go to. And we thank you for your time, and we pray that this masterclass, both yesterday's session and this session today, step 1, 2, and 3, has been a blessing to you. We actually ask that I challenge you and I strongly urge you to not take this information as it is. As soon as you hang up here, take what we just called identity, the perspective of the highest authority and being independent. Sense it, feel it, and look for someone to pray for, and post your testimony on the reviews. Go right there and post that review, right? Or go directly or on the wall, post testimony, right? Post that testimony. Go right now and look for someone and post that testimony. All right, blessings and much love, holy siblings. This is the official end of the masterclass on the three-step spiritual antidote for the coronavirus, as well as all sicknesses and diseases. We pray that this is a blessing to you. You can look forward to tomorrow and the day after. We'll see you around the same time. Look forward to that, and we will in particular so then your strength in this time that they will need the body of Christ, right? You can also use information and begin to speak to the coronavirus internationally and shut it down. Amen. Amen. So, Father, we thank you for each and every person here in the presence of the Lord Christ Yeshua in all the earth. I bless them. I bless them and keep them. The self-existent Father, bless you and keep you. Make his face to make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The self-existent Father, lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. And the presence of the Lord Christ is showing all the earth. Coronavirus, die now. Be removed from every single person on the face of the earth and be blotted out from under the face of the earth, from under the sun. Be now blotted out from under the sun in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Blessed and much love, holy siblings.